Well, good afternoon. My name is Janika Whitney, and welcome to the Blueprint Diaries. The Blueprint Diaries is home to the badass lady bosses in today's business world. We're talking to influential women that are having incredible success in their industries, who courageously share their unique business journeys with us to building a phenomenal business. I am so excited and honored to be joined today with a good friend of mine, someone who I knew for a few years now. Actually, we met doing some charity work, and I'm here with Grace Lanuza. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I met Grace doing some charity work, and she's one of those people that, you know, over time you just fall in love and admire more and more as you get to know. And I've been watching her business journey, and you know, one thing I know about Grace is she's good at what she does. And the reason why I know that is because, you know, she tells me a lot of the clients that she works with and the success that they have, and which is why I've actually hired her to do a lot of my work in my new journey in the last few months. So Grace actually leads a team as the principal brand strategist at Grace Lanuza Brand Strategy and Consulting Group. Did I say that right?
Yes, you got it.
I was like making sure I didn't get that wrong. And you know, she works with international clients, which is actually really amazing. You know, one thing I really love about Grace's story and what compels me is how she not only is a mompreneur, it's how she went from working for a large corporation to now running her own business, managing a team, and she did this all you know, this transition while she was pregnant with her firstborn, right? Yeah. So this is a great episode for those of you that are, you know, mompreneurs looking for some inspiration and hope, and finding out how it can be done in terms of like managing time, growing your business. And this is also a great episode if you are a career woman that is on the fence about starting a family. I think Grace can speak a lot about, you know, running a business and fulfilling all of her other duties. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, thank you for coming. So we're going to get right into it. So Grace, why don't you share with us the story of what exactly you do with Grace Lanuza Brand Strategy and Consulting Group, yes. And what you offer.
Okay, so basically my company is divided into 3 different silos. The first one obviously being brand strategy. So what we do is we deal with clients like their entire brand ecosystem. So, you know, let's say from the logo to like the mission and vision to like key messaging, things like that, the look and feel of the entire brand. The next silo is still branding, but a little bit different. It's called employment branding. So what that means is, you know, have you ever heard of those companies where like everybody wants to work for them because
yes.
they're like the top employer?
Yes.
So we help make that happen for these companies.
Okay.
So by being the top employer of choice, they also attract the top talent in the industry. And then the third silo is something that I wasn't expecting when I started my company, and it just kind of came about. And it's actually from the need of clients where they were wanting to, either they were an influencer and they wanted to partner up with a brand, or they're a brand and they also wanted to partner up with an influencer. So it's kind of like a matchmaking service, if you may, but in business.
Cool. And you do that with a team?
Absolutely, yeah. We have a team that flexes in and out. There are also other consultants. I do have an in-house graphic and web design team, as well as an in-house social media team.
Wow. Sounds like you're running a whole big empire.
I wouldn't know what I'd do without them, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think to run such a successful business, you need to be able to manage different roles and different duties and sort of oversee and, you know, set an example. And it sounds like that's what you're doing really well. Great. So how did you know that you wanted to pursue your business? Because you worked for a corporation. Talk to us a little bit about what you were doing before and how you made that transition. How did you know that what you're doing now is what you wanted to do?
Mm-hmm. Well, at first I was working for a marketing agency, and I was there, you know, close to 10 years. So I obviously loved it, and I loved my clients and the people. And then, you know, it started to become a life change because I became pregnant, and I was easing into that, other phase of my life. And there was one particular pivotal moment where I was laying there, I was 29 weeks pregnant at the ultrasound.
Wow.
I was like laying in the ultrasound bed, and the technician came in and said there might be something wrong with your baby.
Oh no.
So as a mother to be, that would be something that you did not want to hear at all. So I was like, okay, calm down, we've got to figure this out. I decided to call a colleague of mine in Toronto to just say, hey, you know what, I'm going to take some time to figure this out today. I'm putting on my out of office and I'll follow up with you tomorrow. The company has always been great at supporting things like that. However, at that point, this colleague of mine was like, did not even listen to what I had to say. Her answer was, oh, but did you update that Excel sheet for our client?
Wow.
So to me, I said, why am I doing this? What's the purpose or what's the significance? And if I'm going to work my butt off, which I was, I will do it for myself, because I don't ever want anybody in my team to feel like this ever again. So I knew at that moment that I had to do something and I had to make a change.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. That story is so powerful, because I think a lot of women fear having children because they think that it's going to impact their career in a negative way. Yes. But it sounds to me that your career has magnified and has totally taken a different turn, but for the better.
Absolutely. At that moment, I felt so vulnerable and really, looking for support from my fellow, women in the workforce. But the fact that I didn't get it at that moment, I knew that, that was no longer a value match for me, that I had to make the change. And if I had to make the change, that it had to be me.
Wow, that's powerful, especially because it takes a lot of courage to go from something that's totally comfortable, completely known, to now venturing into your own world, having to get your own clients and having to figure things out on your own. So it's amazing what motherhood can do to a person. Right?
Yeah, I feel like motherhood has actually empowered me, because I felt my reasoning in my head, and it still is, like, if I can go through childbirth, I can do anything.
Yeah, totally. All the power to all the mothers that do that. That's awesome. Yeah. So did you have any fears around starting your own business, and what was that like for you? Because realistically, you knew what you needed to get done, right? But it's one thing to know it and one thing to do it. So what were your fears and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, what were my fears? Well, my fears were centered around being not perfect, for once. Throughout my career, I was very fortunate to have been really good at what I did and be seen as the subject matter expert. But to step out from that world and to really put my name on the door, it's a totally different story. Right. When it's just like, it is me, I'm the company, take it or leave it. So I had a lot of fears about, not being perfect, not being able to deliver and things like that. But I quickly realized that there's never a good time and you just have to do it. Kind of like the slogan, just do it. Doesn't mean, you're not fearful. You are, there's a lot of fear, but you just have to step into that and really own it and figure it out. And I think also along with fear comes the fear of not being perfect. Yeah. So it's like unknown plus imperfection is like equals like the biggest fear ever. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, if you just step into that, you would never know until you do it.
Cool. Yeah, that's huge. And it sounds so simple to just do it, but it is. Right? It's easy as putting one foot in front of the other. And I mean, I've seen a lot of people who have done it and have created some amazing things. And so why reinvent the wheel? If it's working for someone who's successful, why not try it yourself? So, I think what a lot of people want to know is how does one person go from working a 9-to-5, working for somebody else to, running their business full-time. So talk to us a little bit about how you committed to running your business full-time, the transition, and if that was something that happened, cold turkey, you gave your resignation and now you started your business, or was it something that you developed over time?
Right, that's a great question. So in my previous role in the corporate world, I was fortunate enough to be able to work from home because the head office was in Toronto, but I was based out here in Vancouver. So I've had experience experience of just being really self-sufficient and that discipline of working from home and having that autonomy, and also led a global team in the process. So I had already that in me, so I figured, okay, let's just translate this instead of for somebody else, for me. And then the transition happened slowly because I was not a quitter, so I gave it a go after my mat leave. So I took my mat leave for not the whole 12 months, but 9 months, just because of the clientele that I was working with. It would just be a better idea if I came back early. So that was my choice. I came back, I gave it another 9 months, and then I knew then, really my calling was not there anymore because my life had changed, my values have changed.
Right. So then after the 9 months, did you just start your business and no longer work for the company?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wow, that's huge to just walk away from something. But I guess because you had already been thinking about it for so long, it wasn't something that you woke up one morning and decided, I don't want this. It was more something over time, and you just, okay, I've had it. and I think it's so important to follow that feeling. Right? I know a lot of people ignore it. They try to bury it. They try to hide it. And I run across people all the time that are unhappy in their businesses. And I just think to myself, how much longer are you going to wake up feeling unfulfilled and just unhappy? It's not a way to live. And I commend people that run with their feelings and create something for themselves that make them feel really alive. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk to Grace about strategies that she used to grow her business. So when you launched your business, right, 9 months after having your little one, talk to us about what the 5 things you did before launching your business. What were maybe the first few things that you really wanted to have established before, maybe even taking on your first client?
Right, yeah. Well, I'm a big goal setter. So I definitely had, set short-term and long-term goals. So that's one of them. Because I firmly believe that setting goals really craft the strategy that you're going to follow and the steps that you're going to break down every day in order to achieve the bigger picture.
Right.
Of course, I had to get the buy-in of my support system.
Right.
So my husband and my family, and my husband is not an entrepreneur. He works for a corporation. He's very happy in his career, but to get him to be in that mindset of like, now we're going to venture into this other type of realm.
Unknown realm.
Unknown, right? So like, come with me. And he was kind of like, what, you're crazy. And then after that, it's really about really getting the mindset of working on my business. So
mindset.
The mindset is so important because every day that's what will propel you to get through. There's going to be tough days. We all have tough days, even if you work for a corporation or if you're an entrepreneur. But really, it's about having that positive mindset to say, like, you're making the right decision. You can do this. Like, this is just one hump in the road. You got to move forward and keep moving forward.
A lot of self-talk.
A lot of self-talk in my office alone. Right? Exactly. The other thing was to really organize myself. So I know that there's going to be some long days and days that I've had to lean on, like I said, to my husband. So I really wanted to set him up for success. So what does that mean? Well, it means having, like, diapers ready, bottles ready, things like that, a dinner for him. I don't cook, by the way, so I delegate that to pizza delivery, maybe. But to have that pre-thought to make sure that I just didn't leave him in the dust, right? Because, you have to set them up for success as well.
Oh, for sure.
And then the last thing I did was network. Just tell people about it. This is what I'm doing now, moving to this different phase. Would you be interested in working together? Do you know somebody that would need the service? And
wow.
That's pretty much what I did.
That's interesting because I was writing this question down and selfishly, it's something I want to know because, people that launch their business, it's a beautiful thing, but there's a lot that happens behind the scenes. And it sounds to me that you did a lot of inside work, a lot of behind the scenes work to really create that foundation. And, you started with, your own personal foundation, which is your goals and your mindset. But I think what's really powerful is also how you, set the support system in place. Because I think when you're venturing off into this unknown world, you need to make sure you have your support system for you to be able to pursue your next chapter. Yes. So I really think, like for me, that I'm taking notes, and I think it's great just to go back to those things and check in and make sure that everything else is functioning so that you can function in your business. So absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really, really insightful. So now that you are ready and set to go, you said you did a lot of networking. So aside from the networking, talk to us about how you found your clients and how you're able to attract new customers into your new business.
Yeah, well, typically when you leave another agency, you have a non-compete clause or non-solicitation, which means you cannot solicit their clients, which is fair enough. Been there, done that, didn't want to work with them anymore. They were fantastic, but we're moving on. So I've been so lucky that I had such great friends that had referrals or just people that I knew in the industry before. Whereas before I was working for another agency, I couldn't work with them because it would have been a conflict. But now that I was on my own, I was able to then step in there and be able to collaborate with them. So it kind of started from there.
Wow, wow. So you feel like you've built your business on referrals?
Yes.
And so, and I kind of knew that was going to be the answer because it's, a common thing in business. So what would you say is key to have developed in your relationship to really get those referrals?
Yeah, I think it's about results. So showing that, you're the subject matter expert and that you have a full faith and confidence in yourself that you're going to be able to produce results. Whatever those results may be. There's things that we can't control, but I think, getting the client to realize that I'm able to give you this because of, XYZ factor. So whatever that may be, that becomes your value. So showing the client or potential clients what your value is and how you can help them achieve their goals, I think is the most important.
Awesome, awesome. So I can tell you're results driven.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Awesome. Fabulous. So marketing strategies, what are you doing that's really working well from you aside from referrals? And talk about bringing people in externally. How are you, also developing more relationships and new customers outside of the referrals that you're receiving?
I think in branding, we always have to be ahead of the trend or be the trendsetter themselves. So I think, we had to have myself and my entire team I'd have to have the mindset to not be afraid to try new things. So whatever that may be, is it something that's hot, up and coming in tech, for example, let's get it, let's try it and see how we can incorporate that to our strategies that we offer our clients now and be the early adopter in that sense. Also, studying what has worked before in the past. And thinking, okay, that worked before in the past, how can we make it better and take it up another level, take it up a notch and see what happens there.
Cool.
So it's different for each client, but I think it's about having that confidence to be the early adopter.
Totally. Yeah. It's always good to work with somebody who is up to date with the trends and, knows what's going on. I'd be afraid to work with someone with my branding who didn't know how Instagram worked, right? Or the power of Facebook, because part of building your brand means you need to be in that arena.
Huge.
Right? So, and I know Grace knows a lot about that because she has inspired me to be, more involved in social media myself. So I totally agree with you. So talk to me about a typical day for Grace and what that looks like, if there is such thing as a typical day. And the reason why I ask that is because you're a mother, you're a wife, you're a businesswoman. So what is an average day like? If you could take maybe most days, what would that look like?
Yeah, well, if it's a weekday right now, at this stage anyway, my son is 3.5. So he's in preschool, the morning session. So there's the usual morning rush, getting ready and breakfast and all that stuff. I do have clients globally, so sometimes that means I've already been on Skype since 5 a.m. and he's waking up at 7:30. So we eat breakfast, we get ready, and then I do the drop off. So I drop him off at school. We're so fortunate to have a nanny that picks him up, so I don't have to worry about that because it's only in the morning. Then after I drop him off, I head on to client meetings. So whether that's in my own office or the client's office. And then sometimes in the afternoon or early evening, there's industry events that I do have to attend. So when that happens, my mom steps in or my husband steps in to support system activate totally. And then after that, I come home and as much as Instagram makes it seem so glamorous, I kind of have a boring, or I want to say boring, but just ordinary life at home. Right now, I'm pretty into Downton Abbey, so
Cool.
just like watching a lot of Netflix and just relaxing.
Netflix and chill.
Yeah, Netflix
Right.
and chill.
Perfect. I mean, when your life is so busy,
Yeah.
it's good to actually turn off and do nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of the new thing for, career women. Once we start to grow up, we actually just enjoy quiet nights
Definitely.
alone with the family. Awesome. So what do you think differentiates you from other companies that are similar to you? And what makes you different? What do you feel makes you different from your competition?
Wow, I would really have to say the people that I work with, so my team, because all of us when we take on a project, we're super vested in it. So we make sure that it's a value match, and obviously our client's success is our success. So we really want to see them through to the end. And I think the caring of the team and making sure that every single detail is accounted for is what makes us different.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. I got to have that solid team because I think without the team, things might not work as smoothly as you like. And I've had the pleasure of working with your team, and they're amazing. Yeah. So talk to me about your team and what your role is in the whole organization.
Okay, well, this is where the fun begins. So when we decide to work with a client, what happens is we do a discovery session to find out how we can serve them, because that's what we do. We serve the client's needs. And then depending on the scope of the project, I pull in other consultants that I know would have the best skill set in order to make the project successful. If they need any graphics work or web design work, then obviously pull in the in-house team for that. Same with the social media team. We craft up a strategy that really is effective for the brand, that's relevant for what they want to accomplish, and most importantly, measurable, because you can't be results driven without measuring the results. So we want to make sure that we're offering that to our clients as well.
Awesome. Cool. And so I guess my next question with that is, how did you find such a solid team?
Secrets of the trade.
I'm hearing so much about this team. Like, how does one develop such a good team?
Well, the in-house teams that I have, the web design and the social media team, are highly curated. So when I was starting my business, I really took the time to find the people that were the right fit, because I knew early on that without the team there would not be a company. So I really was not reactive about it. I was proactive in planning my talent and where they're going. It's about having the right people in the right roles at the right time, and then also working with their goals, because I want somebody to be happy in what they do, and I want somebody to be fulfilled. And so really taking the time to get to know them and say, what do you want to get out of this? What do you want to learn? What drives you? What propels you? And how can we deliver that for you as a team member? Cool. Not just somebody that's coming in to work with a client and then stepping out again.
Right.
So even though, for example, my consultants are freelance, or they come in on a per project basis, there's always a significance behind why they're doing this and why they connect with that project.
Awesome. And which is why you guys work so effectively together, because there's genuine concern and compassion for each other, which I think is such a great dynamic to have. In that environment. Yeah. Awesome. So how important is it to have balance in your life? Because I know a lot of people that are watching are probably wondering how you manage all of your roles, being a career woman, being a wife, being a mother, and all the other roles that you play. What does that look like? And is there such thing as work-life balance, in your sort of perspective?
That's a hot topic. So somebody who I admire greatly, her name is Jill Earthy from Front Callender. I met her before during my days at the Women in Leadership. And I heard her say one time, she said, you know, there's not really work-life balance because it seems like it could be unbalanced or tipped over. So she said she'd like to think about it as work-life harmony. Yeah, so I really love that because harmony is such a positive word, and I think it's just really about setting your priorities. So to answer your question, there's the practical side of the planning, and then there's the emotional side. So the practical side, I have a shared calendar with my husband and our nanny, so they know what's going on, you know, what activities we're going to be doing, or if there are any, you know, family gatherings, things like that, industry events where I'm probably not going to be home, or any travel. My husband travels for work, I travel for work, so sometimes it's a pretty tight schedule. So that's the practical side. And then the emotional side is really thinking about, you know, I'm doing all of this because I want to be the best version of myself. So the best version, not perfect, but the best version of being a mom, a wife, a business leader. So when I think about that, I think about, you know, what is the highest, best use of my time? So I don't feel guilty if I don't go to a grocery store, but order my groceries online to get delivered. That means I'm going to take that hour to go and play with my son at the park. So there's other things like that that you can, you know, put, like, let's say online, or make it automatic and systematic, that works for you in the background, even though, you know, you do not have to necessarily be there.
I love that.
I heard someone say, you can have everything, but you don't have to do everything.
I love it.
So I don't mind at all.
I'm going to actually put those in the show notes, which will be available for everyone, and actually apply that in my own life. Wow, that's powerful. Harmony over balance. And having groceries delivered to your door. Thanks, Savon. Spud also delivers. Yeah,
There's
local.
a lot of different companies now.
I'm going to try it out. And it's true. An hour for grocery shopping, not even worth it. You could be doing other things like playing with your son. So now we're going to go into the challenges part of the series here. So somewhere along your journey, I'm sure there was bumps and opportunities for you to grow, where may have seen like challenges at the time. So explain the events leading up to this particular challenge and what happened and how you were able to overcome it.
That's interesting. The unique thing about my company is every client has a different goal. So I have clients from solopreneurs to people in the middle to celebrities. So each of them have very, very different goals, which happens to come with different challenges. So I think one of the challenges I faced actually was last year, and it's more of a logistical challenge. We had a client that had a very significant event that was going to be happening in their career and in their life, pretty much. It was a very significant event, but the time frame that we were working with, I was actually already on vacation before this event. So my team was in place and everything was good, except that I was in the Serengeti. So I quickly realized that there is internet signal in the middle of the Serengeti. If you choose to check your email, we're gonna be okay. So I think, you know, I was a little bit nervous about that at first, like what if it didn't work, you know, what about the time zones and things like that. But when I really put my mind to it, it's like, it's okay, we're on safari, but it's, you know, 2015 and it can still be reached. A challenge overcame, found internet signal. But that must be nerve-wracking because it was a big client, yeah? Yeah, and you were, you know, somewhere else in the world. I don't even know where that is on the map, but it sounds really far. And so I guess you just have to, at that point, take a breath. And figure it out. And you know, it's interesting, you know, in terms of catchy phrases, like I always tell my clients this, I always tell my team this, we're not in the business of landing planes or birthing babies. We're in brand strategy. So really, like, let's take a minute here to kind of see, you know, the bigger picture and kind of like how that, you know, happens, right? Of course, there's like times that, it's very time sensitive, and I'm not saying that's not the case at all times, but you do have to put it in perspective. Yeah.
And not blow it out of proportion and just, go crazy. Awesome. I love that. And so have you ever had moments of doubt while you were growing your business? And how did you move through that? Because I know a lot of the people, a lot of the questions that, people, want to find out as you grow your business is how you overcome doubt. And how have you done that?
I still have doubt in everything that I do. I think we all do. And what I've done in the past when I've had doubt was to really arm myself with information. So really zero in on, where is the doubt coming from? Is it because of lack of data? Do I need to research more and study more and kind of see what happens there? What were the stats from before? Because I love measuring things. So I want to see what has happened before the same situation, and how can I overcome it? How can I apply it to my business? And then, again, going back to that mindset. When you're an entrepreneur, it's really, you're leading the charge. So you have to be in that space where you're ready to be a role model for your team and your clients, for your family, and be able to move forward.
Wow. Yeah, and I think what it sounds like is just stepping into your power and owning it. I think you can grow a business and still have doubt, but the difference there is taking action and owning it. So it sounds like that's what you've been doing, and you've been doing really good with it. Okay, so Grace, what have you learned from the time you went from working for somebody to entrepreneurship? What have you learned, and how have you grown, and how have you evolved as an entrepreneur in the last, 4 years?
Yeah,
4 years.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've learned in this whole journey is that, if there's one thing that I can take from it, is really it's all about the experience. So I think that's saying, it's not about it's about the journey, not the destination, or it's about having a wild ride. It is that experience day to day that takes you there. You can have goals, and you can have, long-term kind of vision for where you're headed. But I think it's what happens and what you experience day to day that really takes you there.
Yes, definitely. And I realize that having a goal and a plan is great, but to be really flexible is just as important, right? And to take things as they come.
Yeah.
And so were you like that before?
No. No, before I was very set in my ways. It's like black or white. It's in this box, and this has to happen at this time. And if it doesn't, then it's a complete failure. Then it's not perfect, which is so unrealistic, right? But I think after being a mom and having that kind of chaos of I've never done this before. What are we supposed to do? I'm now responsible for another human being.
Totally.
I think you kind of just have to realize that it is that.
Roll with the punches.
You got to roll with the punches, and you got to figure it out as you go along.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Cool. Yeah, and I think that's the best way to just live, right? Because they say worry is, when you're fearful of something that hasn't happened yet.
That's right.
So, no, that's really great advice for any entrepreneur that's on this journey of, making it work and trying to achieve this amazing gold pinnacle. So, what is your definition of success? Because a lot of people success looks different to them in many shapes and forms, and it's personal to each person. So how do you define success?
Yeah, to me, success is, having the freedom to do what you love and to do what you want, while it's still being a value match. So there's still that significance. So you're able to be free to express yourself, but also it's still serving really what's inside you that drives you and propels you.
I love that. Yeah, and I think as you grow over time and different experiences like motherhood, your values change. What's important to you starts to look different, and so how do you match what you do. And, you know, success for some people might be, you know, putting in a lot of hours at work and, you know, having all these clients and closing all these deals, and, you know, and family comes second. But, you know, for some people, they want to be able to incorporate the both. And so how do you align what's important to you with your values and making it work?
And on your
feeling
own
success.
terms.
Yeah.
On your own terms, yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I like how you define that. So we're going to transition now into one of my favorite parts of this interview, is to highlight your badass lady boss moment. Oh. Yeah, this is a time when you feel like you finally reached a point in your business when all of your hard work had paid off. You know, it's a time when you felt extremely confident, in control, really powerful. You experienced a great sense of achievement, living your highest purpose. You know, think of it as a time where, you know, you had your take over the world moment. So tell us about that moment and how you were able to achieve it.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's big moments, and then it's also important to celebrate the little wins.
Totally.
So every day I challenge myself to find that little moment in every day. So there's certainly days where I'm like, oh, I'm like, my badass lady boss moment is like, we're fed, we're clothed, we're alive, we're good.
We survived.
Yeah, we survived.
Yeah.
And then there's times where you're like, wow, like, you know, I see this moment as I'm really making a difference. So one of those was I was nominated for an award, Leader of the Year, for Women of Worth. And so to me, that was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, somebody had taken the time to nominate me, and the committee had, you know, seen that, you know, I was, you know, eligible to become Leader of the Year. And even though I wasn't the successful like winner, quote unquote, it's just being nominated was such a great honor. So that was one of them. There's a lot. I've been fortunate to have a lot. I mean, I think mentorship is so important to me. So every time I mentor and see my mentee grow and succeed and achieve their goals, I think that's probably a badass lady boss moment for me.
Where you feel like you're making a difference, like what you said, and acknowledgement is huge. We could feel so lonely and not acknowledged in our businesses. So for somebody to recognize the light in you, I'm sure made you feel like badass.
Yeah.
No doubt. Cool. Okay, so I am going to wrap up with learning about what your vision is for your company, and what are you working on right now that has you really fired up?
Yeah, so I think for me it's about moving towards my long-term company goal or vision of being a global company. So we have other clients that are international clients, but I really do want to grow that as well. Really taking on other industries that maybe I'm not so familiar with, but obviously willing to learn, and always, staying ahead of that trend, being an early adopter.
Yeah, and it must keep you on your toes all the time.
Yes, of course.
Because things are happening really fast, you know, Periscope and I don't know, what's the latest one right now?
Beam.
Beam. I knew
is
it.
really good.
I knew she would know.
Yeah.
I was because the one that I know the most recent is Periscope, but now I'm going to go look into Beam. So look into Beam if you haven't. And so, what is your best advice that you can give to someone who has a passion, who's maybe feeling uninspired, unmotivated, where they currently are now? What is the best advice you can give to someone who's afraid to maybe pursue their dream and jump into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I would say there's never the perfect time to do it. You don't have to do a big life-changing leap. You can just do things every day or every week even to propel you towards that destination.
I love that.
Towards that goal. So little tiny baby steps become a big impact later on.
I love that. I love that because it can be so overwhelming sometimes to think about such a huge change when realistically we can work towards our ideal without having to sacrifice or to make those drastic changes. Right. And it sounds like that's what you've done. So my advice to people is why reinvent the wheel, right? Start small today and watch it grow. Plant the seed and watch it grow. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time today and for sitting here chatting with us about your success journey. I know you're super busy from what it sounds. I hope that today will be, or this moment will be something at the end of the day where you could feel really good about and celebrate, because I think there's a lot of power in sharing your story. I hope that you were able to learn, whether it's one small thing that you learned from Grace, my advice is to take it and run. If you really enjoyed what you heard today, I invite you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Blueprint Diaries. You can also find the recording of our show and all of Grace's fabulous tips at theblueprintdiaries.com. And we also have a podcast on iTunes at Blueprint Diaries. Thanks again so much for joining us. Thank you to all of our fabulous sponsors. We are sitting here today in the Anna V Boutique, downtown Vancouver. So thanks so much to Anna V for not only doing our makeup today. Yeah, we were talking about how we should have done it before and after, but we'll leave that one off camera for now. And thank you to Stella and Dot for styling us today with our jewelry, and Glass City for creating this fabulous video and podcast series for us. So I hope you join us again for our next show. Again, if you love what you hear and you are looking to feel more inspired and empowered by influential women in business, please subscribe to Blueprint Diaries. Thank you.